Must know, apartheid must go, or we never will be free. Shaka, Shaka, tell them if they lash we brother. Tell them that they're hitting all away. Shaka, Shaka, when they make we children suffer. Tell them, they'll answer to all away. Let your spirit flow through the veins of Soweto. Let your unifying hand cradle every Bantu man. Tell Tacha and Bota, stop the fooling. Tell them judgment day is near. Tell them they can't stop the tables turning. Let them know it's real. They will have to feel if they do not want to hear. Shaka, Shaka, tell them if they lash we brother. Tell them that they're hitting all away. Shaka, Shaka, when they make we children suffer. Tell them they'll answer to all away. seen the white man bleed, marching against apartheid, while Canadian youths protest.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Yes, if they touch one of us, they touch all. And that is how it will be. And I say to the PNM to let the people of the East-West Corridor, inclusive of Laventille, free. Let the people of Laventille and the East-West Corridor free. And that your shenanigans that you created by, of course, gerrymandering are very, very conscious of what is required. And the EBC, nor any other government agency that has been subverted and compromised will not be successful in the next general elections. That you can be assured of.
To see our people free, one task, one goal. Shaka, shaka, tell them if they touch Mandela. Tell them, tell them, tell them, tell them, tell them, tell them, they better hit all away.
Yes, indeed, let me say a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. Pleasant good night to you. This is, yes, the Wednesday edition of the Corridor Transformation. And tonight, I feel emboldened. I feel loose. I feel no impediment, none whatsoever, to deal forthrightly with the evil that is, of course, the PNM over the years, and in particular these vipers, miscreants, led by a total and absolute rapscallion, pedophile and rapist called Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. The battle has started, and of course, the various tools of battle have been drawn. And we must not relent as we go steadfastly, knowing full well that we are the righteous ones and that evil could never prevail over good. A pleasant good night to all, and enjoy, of course, as we focus on the East-West Corridor, but more particularly the Laventilles, so that you'll get an appreciation as to what the people has been doing in order, of course, to liberate and emancipate ourselves from, of course, the vipers of the that have been nestled in the PNM. And I want to say, a formidable ally would have been, of course, the UNC, and Basio Pandey in particular. And of course, that was manifested poignantly in the 2007 general elections and the campaign that led up to it. Yes, indeed. Have a wonderful night, because it will be a wonderful night. You see, of course, in the back of me, a video showing the manifesto of the UNCA for the 2007 general elections. And I want to pause here because it's important that we pause here. You see, because there are those who are pretending that somehow they're more PNM than anybody else in Laventille. And suddenly they want to, of course, denounce their past. When your past cannot be denounced, it must follow you. Your past cannot be denounced, it must follow you. I'm saying this specifically because while, of course, we may have friends, but the limitation to that friendship is based, of course, on whether or not your friend is reckless and would, of course, engage in activities to limit, stymied, and, of course, generate and assist those who are prepared, of course, to put us in bondage and deprive us of what is due to us by their own, of course, greed and aggrandizement. And we must have none of it. And those who are so engaged must be, of course, exposed. I want to tell you tonight, remember I told you that, and I said it on the Ground Report this morning as well, that we formed for the liberalization and the advancement of Laventille and the Laventilles, the party called LOVE, Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment. I told you that. And I told you as well that Juliet Davy would have been side by side with me. I being the political leader, and we didn't really distinguish one from the other in terms of our operation. So we were operating equally because we had, and I still have, of course, a concern for Laventille and the abuse that it was subjected to under the PNM. Well, you may not observe her picture in that particular list or pictures of candidates. Yeah, man. You'll make it out. You'll make it out. Let me just, I'm going to, of course, point out that Juliet Davy was a candidate for the UNCA under Basio Pandey and, of course, Jack Warner at the time. And just in case, because she seemed to have, in recent times, selective memory, because I told her on her own program some time ago, you remember when it was up for vote as to who should lead the UNCA into the 2007 general elections. And we were the first, Juliet and I were the first to put up our hands to say, let Kamala Prasad Bisesa lead the party into the 2007 general elections. The outcome or the result is now history, because that was done, that decision was made when Basio Pandey was out of the country. The decision was made at the Emerald Plaza in Tonapuna. Yes, Emerald Plaza in Tonapuna. Minuscule as you are, reducing rapidly as is the case, and you are now becoming, of course, not just estranged from the thing that you may or may not have believed in, but now realizing that that was an illusion or is an illusion. I'm talking about Rowley and, of course, his bunch of opportunistic political parasites who, of course, clearly engage in delusion and illusions, innuendos, lies, and outright, of course, deception in order, of course, to be where they are. I know that many of you are now becoming deconditioned. You are becoming, of course, demoralized. You are becoming, of course, not only deconditioned and demoralized, but, of course, you are now having to face the reality of Trinidad and Tobago under a group of individuals who were never ready and who have failed and failed and failed and failed. Yes, indeed. I pause with that picture in the background because I want you to notice in the center of that picture at the top, you will see Kamala Prasad Bisesa then as the candidate. But just below her, you will see Juliet Davy. You know what I say? I say you will see Juliet Davy in the picture. Look at it carefully. Of course, she was much more, with all the respect in the world, she was a more beautiful person then. And I don't want to say in what form, because, of course, you can take it wherever you wish. But, of course, there was Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Above her, her picture was placed above her, and, of course, she was just below Kamala Prasad Bisesa's picture as the candidates for the UNCA. Yes, Juliet Davy. And if you dig closer, which we are going to do during the course of this program, you will see that Juliet Davy, his name was boldly printed. And there is a lot of reasoning behind that, you know. But the point I want to make tonight is that she told me that she couldn't remember when I broached her with the issue that when we had decided the day before Pandey returned to the country to, of course, should I say, cause to be rescinded the decision the day before to have Kamala Prasad Bisesa lead the party, lead the arrangement for that elections, and Stephen Cady, of course, was another guy that was strident that Kamala Prasad Bisesa must be the one. And there was good reason, as I said yesterday, that because of Pandey's travails brought on, as we know, by the PNM, in terms of the bank account and the court matters, etc., we thought it would have been much better for someone who is not tainted in the way that the PNM had tainted Pandey artificially, of course. Prasad Bisesa and the UNC came out Trump and Lily White. Well, he too, Pandey, came out, but we could not have afforded that at that point in time because the PNM was getting the advantage over the narrative and the propaganda that they would have spread. And they went to town, poisonous excoriations, and of course, vitriolic remarks about Pandey and anybody associated with, of course, the UNC. That was the atmosphere at the time. But I say all that to say that when we were at ML Plaza and we had selected, not knowing what reversal there would have been the following day, we voted unanimously for Kamala Prasad Bisesa to lead the 2007 general election. Incidentally, I don't know if you would have seen him there, but Andy Roberts is also there, looking a little younger as well. You may not recognize me because I am the only one with a big beard, so you should be able to recognize me there. But of course, I am not in the picture. I am blocking, of course, that part of the picture. But we will get to that in a while. The point I am making here is this: when Kamala Prasad Bisesa was chosen on that point in time to lead the party, and it was unanimous, after that exercise, we went to the bar, near the bar, and Kamala Prasad Bisesa told more so Juliet Davy, as woman to woman, I want to thank you for the support, one, and two. Yes. The same Juliet Davy that, of course, has metamorphosized to, of course, a hater of Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Yeah, the same Juliet Davy. Kamala Prasad Bisesa told I can remember that very distinctly. I don't know how she told me on her own program that she could remember. I suppose it's just like, she's just like, of course, her leader. I'm talking about Rowley. When he can remember that he was a member of NJAC, and he wouldn't talk about member of NJAC, he wouldn't talk about 1970. He always talks and begins, of course, his political foray in 1974, when, of course, he was attached to the PNM, and somebody, of course, invited him to be part and parcel of the PNM. He never talked about 1970, and that is obvious, because he will have to take, of course, sour eggs, rotten eggs off his face, because he would have been diametrically opposed to Eric Williams, who was the prime minister at the time, and therefore the founding father as well of the PNM, and therefore he can't afford, of course, to let many know that, well, from today, everybody will know that Rowley was an NJAC. He was on an NJAC platform, and there were several things coming out of the 1970 exercise, which he was so fearful of, that, of course, he had to take what I interpret him to have said. He had to take evasive action, because a bank was burned down, and the fear was that that NJAC would have done it, and therefore they went and they created an alibi by staying together one place, so that it could not be said that they could have been two places at the same time. That is Rowley. But of course, the focus here is on Juliet Davy for the time being. Not that she is significant, but I'm just making the point that these people are hypocrites. So Kamala Prasad Bisesa came to her and came to us. I was standing at the bar when, of course, she said, "Thank you, Juliet, for that support, and you will never regret it." I could never forget that. And today, Juliet Davy, up and down the country, a typical, of course, the PNM talk show hoax. Hoax it is. I thought it was important, of course, to start there, because we have to liberate the people of Laventil, East Port of Spain, the Diego Martins, and right up the corridor. If they don't want to listen, again, that's their business. But we have to put the information to them, because it's the Bible that says, and my understanding is that he will return when he is satisfied that all have heard about him and the word. Well, I am saying to you, Laventilians, the advocacy is here. The evangelization of the liberalization of Laventil, and it's, of course, quest for equality of treatment and delivery that has been stymied by the PNM too long in our political affairs and political development, and they, in exchange for loyalty and commitment, they exchange it, of course, with pain, ache, agony, sour grapes, acid, and, of course, murky, and, of course, a cesspool of deception. A cesspool of deception. And we must, of course, put an end to it. 2024 is the year of pain, ache, agony reversed under the PNM, so that their political stocks, their political survivability will reach so tenuous that it will result in being nil. Nil. They must be relegated to the dustbin of political history for what they have done to these communities along the East-West corridor. And the East-West corridor clearly is the focus of the transformation that we have been, of course, bellowing and insisting upon and, of course, encouraging over the years with these, of course, podcasts and these, of course, lives. Yes, indeed, people. Shaka, Shaka. You touch one, you touch all. And that is where we are going. And we must go. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Shaka, talk to me in a happy family. Tell me when you're hitting one, better you hit all and done. Now when I look at South Africa and the pain my race go through, lying smitten by the bogus massa. I burn, oh my blood I mourn. Oh, tell them when they lash my brother, tell them that they hitting all away. Shaka, Shaka, when they make we children suffer, tell them they'll answer to all away. For we have family, one blood, one soul.
They are conscious, like me, that we gave the country its national culture, steel band calypso, as well as carnival. It is not by accident that carnival starts with the reenactment of Tambule. Not by accident. We know. And when, of course, the people of that area are disrespected and ground into the ground as if they are third class and fourth class and fifth class citizens, we must respond appropriately. This is what the corridor transformation is all about. This is what we live for. And of course, we know that there are others along the east-west corridor and in the foothills and the hinterlands of the northern range that have been similarly, of course, disgraced and, of course, ill-treated and at the same time exploited politically to the point where it is commonplace for them to refer to these areas as what? As a vote bank for the PNM. And when, of course, elections results come out and you watch at the map of Trinidad and you see, of course, in that small eastern side, the northwestern corner of the map, we see some 12 constituencies bundled and huddled there. And then, of course, the shenanigans of the PNM will go into, of course, the other constituencies, like, of course, Labre and Point 14 and so on, in order to just get a slim victory. But they rule as if they would have had a massive victory, and therefore rule as if they got a huge mandate, as we have seen with these mad people that are considering themselves a party and ministers and prime minister, and at the end of the day, total and absolute chaos and shambolic and of course pain, ache, agony, and of course policies and programs such as of course the introduction, even though they say they will not, of property tax, and of course tell us in no certain terms in 2015 we know of the government, and therefore the government cannot carry the question of course electricity and water, and of course even maintain the roads, so that the excuse was COVID, but they kept the roads so in such a dilapidated state, in such a state of disrepair, that Trinidad became known and still is known as the pothole country, quite apart from the from the highest, the sixth in the world crime as far as murders are concerned per capita. That is what, and these vipers will then tell us that they were trying to save us, insulting our intelligence, and of course the people with the highest degree of contempt. It's best you to cost my mother. But you told me that you're trying to save me, when of course over 5,000 persons with $22 billion died, and of course, and we cannot account, or we don't know where the damn money went, but you're telling us that you're trying to save us glibly and simplistically and laughing, in other words, just as what Imber did when he raised, of course, gas prices, etc., and every other thing, by taking away the subsidies and say that, of course, we ain't riot yet. Well, I tell him, he has a political riot on his hands. The entire PNM. People, of course, in the meantime, excuse me, the number to call, 337-6940, 337-6940, the number is live and well and open. I know that, of course, the serious matters, and I know that you are listening attentively and viewing, of course, the seriousness of this. I want to tell you, it is not as a result of the want of trying. I want to tell you as well, it is not because the people do not have the capacity. I boasted earlier in the introduction that we gave the country its national culture. What has gone wrong? What has gone wrong? Well, first and foremost, clearly, is the PNM. The first and foremost. And the people, on the other hand, took for granted, took for truth their patience and their loyalty was exploited by the PNM. And as a consequence, the quagmire and the dilemma that is now the East-West corridor, particularly the Laventils and East Port of Spain and so on, has now come home to roost. I was passing, of course, and somebody told me about the possibility, and not that I am unaware, that fellas like me will be targeted physically. Andy is, of course, is going through the repercussions of that physical attack some time ago. But we have a duty and responsibility to be fearless. So today, going across Park Street, a fella in another vehicle on the side of me on my right rushed to, of course, swing down. I was approaching, of course, Frederick Street, and he shouted out, "All you gonna die like Semp. All you gonna die like Semp." And of course, in typical quick fashion, I told him in those certain terms, "You supporting a rapist and a pedophile, and I would die like a Semp. Well, you will die like a double Semp." Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. Sorry about that, caller. Please call back. Yeah. So we know we are prepared. We are prepared for that ultimate. And as I said, I will take personal interest in, of course, pursuing the agenda for what? For constitutional reform, because Pandey gave us all of that. And let me show you in the background there, right now, that is on screen. That is a section of the manifesto. In fact, the entire video that you're seeing in the back of me as part of the set is in fact all of the manifesto pages, and that one is page 44. Page 44, where of course Laventille was mentioned for the first time in a mass party environment in a national election, not a local, you know, a national election. That is what we were able to do as a people. You understand why I am so annoyed with the leadership of desperados, who of course, and I stand corrected if they did in fact make some noise as to where they have located or relocated desperados on Nelson Street, where they could never survive. And I want to tell you this. I will bring a picture tomorrow. I'll bring videos of desperados. And of course, one of the new Balize House. New Balize House, and you will get an appreciation. Let's go straight, of course, into the lines. President, good night. Welcome. President, good night.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night.
Thank you for taking my call. And
yes,
the topic is a very nice one, but the only thing I will not condemn my Juju Love, because you see, Juju Love is talking the truth that the corrupt about the corruption and all the things that is taking place, right? But she get the date and time and the era wrong, and the party letters wrong, because Juju Love know everything about the thieving and the misappropriating of the economy, and what is a bunch of liars and thieves. But I will not backtalk my Juju Love. She is talking the truth. So maybe when India sent out the $7 million disbursement for the illiterates to learn to read, she might understand to read the dates and time and which is the political party, which is the PLM. Because if I ask you tonight, Mr. Lennox, yes, the Balize House is billing, and how much members, because they only have 100,000 registered members, and if the members is only 100,000, and it takes 3 days to have a political leader elected in 3 days and only muster 8,000 votes, that is to tell you, when you see the election results come out, if something is wrong with the leader, he can't muster the majority, and the narrative has to be pushed in a way. So if we go tonight and say, when Mr. Basil Pandey had break the yoke from Eric Williams, and he had made all cultural organizations recognized, and something you're leaving out in the discourse, I don't want to tell you that you're willfully leaving us out. When Eric Williams had taken the reins of power in this country and independent, he take away the African identity, because a basic thing as the spiritual, the shelters, or the prayers could not be exercised publicly for look how many decades. So that's just to show when he had taken away the identity of the Africans. And the nice thing about it, when you see water is more than flour, and a foreign minister to unite and uplift people. You telling me, as I say, 12 electoral districts in a little corner, and Paro seat is more than the geographic boundaries than them 12 seats where they're situated. Eh? So you are opening the eyes and taking out the Balize, Yampi, and letting those who would like to get information to know the truth. And I like this program tonight. So, in all fairness to the PNM supporters, yes, you are right to support, and you are right to your party. You are one man, one vote. But understand, that is why when we call and talk about Laventille, after 50 years of PNM rule, they still have an outhouse in the city capital. The only state you see that is in Venezuela. and the third world countries down in South America and in India.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. People must of course face reality. Must face reality, my friend. And of course, the people in these areas must also face reality. The fact of the matter is that they have been taken for fools for too long, and it is now overbearing. It is almost, or not, in fact, it is ad nauseum. Ad nauseum. To see us as suckers for punishment. And I dare say, because I'm coming back, of course, to the fact that it was not as a consequence or the want of trying to advance the community, by the community, for the community, and of the community. I want to tell you that because you will be getting an eye-opener tonight because the time has come for Laventille and these communities to liberate themselves and to, of course, make certain that they do like Tobago. I see Tobago calling, so I thought it was important, of course, to take part in there and to use that as an opportunity. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, Lennox, good night, calling from Tobago East.
Yes, sir. Good night to you, my friend.
But I had a laugh at see a documentary. Yeah, but good night to everybody too. I had a laugh when I see Shara trying to jump over a fence and say she go and see Basil Pandey.
Yeah.
You know, if Basil Pandey was alive, she would not want to say it. I don't know why she and the PLM are carrying British bacchanal in the mad federal. These people, PLM are some real jokers and real people out of timing, you know. Of all places, Shara go there with this nonsense. Shara feels an election campaign or what? She feels a PLM campaign that she go there with nonsense. She had all of that, she had every bong and all of that nonsense. The real?
Yeah.
You sure I carry that somewhere down my body the house and do that shit down there? She can't go quite herself and not play the house and jump. Then she jumping over a barrier and thing. Since she's this big badger and this thing, all of them. Also that nonsensical kind of human being and them. I don't know what's wrong with them. Something she and Amy Brown and Rowley and all them with the PNM shit. They should keep that to themselves, you know. Yeah, by some of them.
Yeah. I add. Well, I don't want to add further. Let's say fuel to that. Inferno. Put it that way. But of course, it was at the end of the day. It was hilarious. It was jokey. It was, of course, a comedian kind of impression one would get.
Yeah, like a comic relief or something like that.
Especially because of the antecedent, because of who they are. Yeah. Because of who they are,
I don't understand it, but I like to sing off for Basil. Basil is a man that did a lot of things to this country. Boy, Lennox, this man did a lot for this country. In my book, you see Ian Kavala is two of the best prime minister past year. I mean, Robinson did his thing too, but the only thing I vexed Robinson for is when he had PNM power. I didn't like him for that. That's why I don't like PNM. I never voted for them in the whole life. I don't like them. So I vexed him when he do that. He should never get PNM no power.
Yeah.
Is that
that's a major problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I vexed him for that because he should have never didn't hand no power to them. None. You should have hand back the power to Basil Pandey. Yes. Have a good night, Lennox. I want to chat to all listen to you and I think everything. Good night. I wasn't available now, but
all right, my friend.
You know when I available, but when I'm available, I'll be around.
All right, okay,
right, my friend. Take care, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, of course, for that intervention. And indeed, I want these communities to understand they must do like Tobago. Tobago took as much as they could. They were an absorbent for punishment, for mismanagement, for corruption, for thievery, for disrespect, and they made a right about turn. They made a unanimous turn. They made today, Rowley and they are now, of course, inventing all kind of fake news and fake initiatives, such as, of course, investigating the chief secretary for the first time in the history of Tobago, only because the chief secretary is not, put another way, because the PNM lost the entire political, what I consider to be the political edifice of Tobago. And they know that is 2 seats gone. To malign and to tarnish and to, of course, invent all kinds of illusions that is a figment of their pernicious, evil, wicked, diabolical, and, of course, power-hungry imagination. But nothing will stand in the Almighty's way. No evil will stand. It may appear to be standing, but that is ephemeral, that is temporary. And of course, its compendiousness will be seen in the fullness of time, because 2 years ago, people were saying, oh gosh, we have to wait 3 years to, of course, before these people get the hell out of office, right? Before election. So 3 years ago, people were ready. 3 years ago, people was asking the question why it is that we have to take so long. Oh, well, of course, forbearance, patience, and with the will, as we have seen in all biblical, Quranic, as well as Gita stories. Patience is virtue. And of course, we are in the penultimate year now. We are in the penultimate year, and therefore we have to, of course, go stridently and tell, of course, the East-West Corridor, you must not fall victim to the PNM's propaganda and their evil, as they will continue, of course, to, when they get you to vote for them, then, of course, they will now return it with acid, with vinegar, and with poison. That's what they have been doing over the years. And arrogating unto themselves some kind of special award to themselves, that they somehow must dominate and rule Trinidad and Tobago because some fellow called Eric Williams give them Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the question must be asked, who gave him? If they so damn stupid and delusionary to believe that somehow Eric Williams gives them the right to rule Trinidad and do so for their friends, the family, and themselves and their 1%. Who gave Trinidad and Tobago? I mean, why is that asinine and dotish, irrational, and of course, totally incongruent argument? While we know it is a fallacy, in other words, but we have to tour with them as they make them believe what is not. So that when you ask the question, who gave it? Who gave Trinidad and Tobago to Eric Williams? And of course, they cannot answer. But of course, they will venture so to do by some, of course, deflection or some kind of story that does not concur with not only reality, but with common sense and analysis. Yes, indeed. So I want to tell you, and I want to return to the lack of effort that by the people themselves, not the politicians. They are nincompoops and they are in no man's land as far as that is concerned. All of them have been opportunists from, of course, Martin Joseph, Hines, the fellow called Leon today. We even had, of course, the, should I say, the puny talking, Donna Cox, the puny talking, Nigel Hippolyte. Yes, all of them, and those before them, whether it be, of course, that told the people of East Port of Spain that Kamala and them are joking, and who will maintain those buildings when Kamala and them give them it for $100. They are now the area is now being gentrified. Gentrification is taking place, and if you only give them another term, Rowley and them, they wreak havoc and pain, and they spread, of course, the crime and criminality to every nook and cranny in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago will be disfigured forever if they only get another 5 years. And of course, the people are not prepared to even give them 3 years, as we saw with, of course, the local government elections. So we are well placed. But elections are won on the day. And it cannot be that you will not or find yourself in a state of complacency because the nut has already been shelled. In other words, that the UNC win already, so therefore you don't have to go and vote. I say to you, go and register. Go and, of course, make certain that you get to the polls early, and to, of course, rid ourselves from this albatross, this beast in human form incarnated, called the PNM, and, of course, led by archdevil Rowley and his gang of 30 pieces of silver ministers. 30 pieces of silver ministers. A bunch of Judases. Yes, indeed. But let me give you another irrefutable. Nobody could. So I already told you about Juliet Davy and her attempts, of course, to come on board in order, of course, to transfer, but they can't wait. They don't have long patience. They don't have tolerance and resilience. They succumb to a CPEP contract. They succumb to a couple 10 days. Yeah, that is what is happening here. And they succumb to getting, of course, a non-permanent job, a temporary job in the Port of Spain Corporation or the Laventil Corporation or the Tonopuna Corporation or the Arima Corporation, yes, or the other corporations along the East-West corridor, including, of course, the newly minted borough of Diego Martin. That's what has happened. But of course, one expects that people will have to survive whilst the grass is growing and the horse is starving. So I understand that concept. But you cannot tell me that you will, of course, back that which will cause you more pain and ache and agony, or put more specifically, that has caused you to have to rely on a 10 days and a CPEP contract, when, of course, you had between 2010 and 2015 contracts like it going out of style on the East-West corridor. So much so they call that administration the box drain. The box drain. Why did they call them box drain? Government, because they were giving out contracts to those who are deserving, as you build the human capacity to respond to the challenges of physical, educational, intellectual, and social. So that was part and parcel of the philosophy of the UNC then. And of course, inside of that, it has environmental benefits. Because when, of course, you focus on the box drains first, then when you put on the roads alongside that, it means, therefore, it will last longer, and therefore a much more, should I say, firm job would have been established, and the integrity not only of the job itself but the facility, because its people would be using it, whether as pedestrians or as motorists. Yes, people. But let me say, and it was, of course, in the 2007 manifesto of the UNCA that a special place was put inside of that manifesto for Laventille alone. Never happened before. And it was done because you had visionary and leaders with foresight and was prepared, of course, to step out the box and, of course, anchor themselves with the shakers and movers in the society. And clearly the UNC was, of course, the next best choice, having regard, of course, or the only choice at that time, having regard, of course, to the disappointment and the destruction that was descended on the East-West Corridor by the PNM and the people. And don't tell me you don't understand what I'm talking about, because Archbishop Barbara Gray Burke did the same thing with respect, of course, to the Baptist community. And today, of course, they have not only a kindergarten or an early childhood center, but they have a secondary school and, a primary school, and they are going towards a secondary school and a hospital for the people who, of course, have been downtrodden and who have been disappointed and who have been abused and who have been, of course, exploited by the PNM. And the common denominator in, of course, their amelioration and their liberalization and their freedom is, of course, the UNC. The UNC caused that, and you don't know that that is where you have to anchor your salvation. Have to anchor your salvation. A pleasant good night. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome. That's a good night.
Good night, Mr. Lennox again.
Yes.
On the topic there, and the delivery for the infrastructure, when he renamed the URP work to ETP, you were training the workers and them who attend the program, the vulnerable, so that they can do upholstery, small engine, and same carpentry. Yeah? And they learned while they were earning. So I just want to remind on the discourse that the program, it had purpose, not just giving people a handout and to just work for working sake. They were trained so that they can earn after they make the 10 days or 20 days, how after they done work. What the PNM is doing. Yeah? So when you see, we have to talk about the farmers and the export market and the fishery with the cross-border with Venezuela. The people in Southwestern District in Cedros will attest to this. When Mr. Baldepa, they had signed with the Venezuelans that fishermen can go in their water and stream, fish for stream and trawl, and they call it trawling for stream in their water. That was a revenue stream that we were getting. It had persistent plant. All throughout Cedros and up in Shaka used to export and used to create jobs. So that's why we go on. I was reminding them what you are overseeing. Have a nice night again.
Yes, indeed. And this is the level of knowledge, awareness, and the intellectual prowess of the callers, because we need to, of course, not just disabuse, but decondition the East-West Corridor. That what is purporting to be love for you is poison ivy. Poison ivy. Rolling them are delivering a whole forest. And the caller is correct. I have not, of course, focused on that and the details thereof. But he is correct that it was never about providing a handout, but it was about training in the process. Why you sustain yourself? Because empty bag can't stand up and you must eat. So therefore, you are provided with a income, but at the same time, you're training so that you can be provided. You could be providing yourself with that income for and in perpetuity. You don't have to depend on anybody. That is what the UNC and Pandey and of course Kamala Prasad Bisesa has demonstrated in their policies and programs. Opposite, of course, to the PNM. We saw it in Tobago, where 3/4 of the people in Tobago were employed with the THA, the PNM, THA. I mean, that is bizarre.
Am I clearly?
Loud and clear, my friend.
Hello, Lennox. Am I clearly?
Loud and clear.
Right,
Yes.
well, you breaking up a little, right?
All right, okay, loud and clear. Go ahead.
I say you breaking up a little.
All right, but you talk. I'm getting you clear.
Rowley bring new. All right, Rowley bring new heights to people in higher positions in this country now, you know. Because what we actually saying he make a 30-year deal with that dictator. You call police station now, they're asking you if you can remember where the police station is, you call them to report him. They're charging him for car and the road bad. And now, without any doubt, well, don't talk for recusal. And now, PNM ministers jumping over railing to go UNC funeral. You have a call, yeah, Rowley bring this place to the greatest ever to be reaching. We reaching a little.
Of course. I you see that yet for local government. He only paying people to come over from the UNC, the very people who he was castigating and saying that they corrupt this and that and so on. This man is a blasted, not just a madman. This man not only duplicitous, he's not only bipolar. The man is a serial sociopath of extraordinary degree, a special place in a mad people prison. It should be, of course, organized for him. Yeah, it's some kind of mental asylum for the criminally insane. Go ahead, my friend.
But I'm telling you, them go get people, the normal citizens like me and you crazy, you know. Them looking for what they get eventually, you know. People here go get crazy, you know. And then on top of that, you give them weed to smoke on top of it too, you know.
Yeah, boy, everything that people touch is disaster after disaster.
It is easy. We got to.
Yes, my friend. Thank you very much, of course, for that intervention. And those are casual observations. Billions of dollars are being spent, budget after budget, and you give us a Christmas that a gift that you have to wait for it. Wait for it 5 years from now, a Christmas gift for 2023. You have to wait for it 4 years from now. I mean, these are mad people. Their insanity knows no boundary. But let me, of course, read for you what we were able to put into the UNCA manifesto of the 2007 elections campaign or leading up there too. You see, it's important because there are those who believe that the people just sit back and don't do anything and wait, of course, for the next series of abuse by the PNM. No, there are those of us who know that and will resist it at all costs. But the people have to rise up ultimately. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey, good night, my mother.
Good night, my friend.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Hey, how you doing? Right. I just want to say one thing, right?
Yes.
And what I want to say is, do you know the first lie that Dr. Rowley told?
But there are so
first
many.
Lie he told when he came into power.
There are so many
and
lies.
that tells me everything I need to know about him.
That he said.
And the first lie was this.
Go ahead. Let me hear what you have.
Yeah.
And nobody.
So the first lie he said when he came in was this.
Yeah, but the first lie he told, to me, was when he said that I didn't want this job. That was the first lie.
He didn't want the job?
Because when you hear this man on every platform and every... Yeah, remember when he said that he didn't really want this
but
job?
that was before he got into government. He tried to...
That was the first one.
Like the rabbit and the tar baby. Oh God, don't throw me in the bush now. Don't throw me in the bush where in the bush he wants to go. Well, we know him very well now. We know that was cheap reverse psychology. But go ahead.
No, but what I want to say is this, right? You didn't want the job, right? And you reach at this age with so much money and so much real estate you're doing and mining animals and all kind of thing, and you making money like you. At this age, and you wouldn't just leave that and give it to somebody else and enjoy the rest of money that you have and a better life that you have. Think about it.
The man greedy.
The reason why they want to stay in power is to safeguard themselves from jail.
That's right. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Nobody really want to safeguard themselves from jail because they know if they come out of power, they know they have to defend themselves. And the only way they could do that good is when they're in power. Because the minute they come out, you know what we're doing with them, and you keep saying it all the time. Handcuffs, bracelet, and right. So, good program, man.
Very much, of course. I'll go to the top of the class, my friend. And I want that to be inculcated, received, and assimilated, and act on it. Because that is what the PNM will be engaged in. Utilizing, of course, the people of Lavatil, Diego Martin, Arima, of course, and the in-between constituencies that they would have dominated with the assistance of the EBC, the gerrymandering, in order, of course, to stay from the obvious criminal and civil action that must be taken against them for their mismanagement and their callous and brutal robbery of the treasury of the country. And that goes without saying. It is a pellucid and unadulterated and conspicuous fact. And Lavatil must not, East Port of Spain must not, Bita must not, Silots must not, Lavatil on the Hill must not countenance, encourage, advertently or inadvertently, because you cannot say that you didn't know now. You cannot say that only what Rowley and Hines and Imbert and of course Leon Sunday tell you, and of course Donna Cox and of course Camille Robinson Regis and of course Don the head minister of works are talking about, of course, the most, what I consider to be moronic minister, notwithstanding, and could give good competition to, of course, Stuart Young. Give good competition to Stuart Young. Yes, indeed. But people, as I was saying, let me read for you the section of the manifesto that we as a people were able, of course, to put into the manifesto of the UNCA. Give way to the callers. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Well, of course, could be in the circumstance. It's going to be a long, hot 2024. Are you still there? Make your contribution. You having difficulties? Well, you'll have to call back. You'll have to call back. Yes, indeed. Maybe he just called to find out how I'm feeling. When I'm feeling, of course, upbeat. I'm feeling energized. Especially when the fella told me today that, of course, I will then, like I said. So I say, I retorted and I felt good about that. That you are supporting a leader that is a rapist and a pedophile. Rowley I'm talking about. And you have the audacity and the temerity of, I didn't say those words, but so certainly it was sufficiently equipped to, of course, and crisp for him to realize that he had to shut his trap and get the hence, the blasted Satans who will. Yes. Yes, indeed. So, people, let me read for you. Let me read for you. I'll try to read the entire document. But the first time in a manifesto of a mass party, Lavatil was to be taken care of. When that ends up in a manifesto, you know, when PNM, of course, like take for instance, when they did not put in the property tax, and we saw where Imbert and Rowley were fumbling over each other to try to distance themselves. Imbert saying, of course, it was not in the manifesto, it is not in the manifesto, because they deliberately left it out. We know now, we can surmise and we can conclude that. But of course, Rowley believed that he could sell snow cone in hell. Rowley believed he could sell snow cone in hell. So he, of course, take it up and then, of course, make an ass of himself, having, of course, contradicted himself. And now today, we're talking about property tax, when then he said that it was the most heinous act that could happen in terms of attacks for Trinidad and Tobago. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Yes?
I'm all
right. As could be.
You look like after giving a get cut off, so boy. I see the government was picking up a survey connected to about people on the poverty line. And the poverty line is having 1,458 or something like that, right? I want to ask you a question. How much people under the poverty line? They can't tell. So you in the 8 years now, and you don't know the statistics of how much people under the poverty line? But most of the students are collecting all of these grants, they're under the poverty line. What is that?
Yeah, I said they are not interested in that once they are not under the poverty line, one, and that they could stay in government to hoodwink and to continue, of course, emptying the treasury of the country, raiding the treasury.
Because let me say, put somebody, let me say the person with a disability grant, Lennox.
Yeah.
They collecting $2,000. When you subtract $1,400 and something dollars, $38, like $560, I'll say. And a disabled person, they need all kind of different.
Yes.
They say that only carefully gas, the high gas price to go with that.
They want to
so I don't know what
subsidize
really
now. Yeah. We're taking out for in the first place.
I'm watching the television tonight and I see in Ecuador. The gangs take over that country, running rampant, shooting Tom and Harry, politician included. And they put a zero tolerance on the gang now. That if they catch them, they're dealing with them. I think we gotta do the same thing here, you know. These gangs are them running rampant in this country and doing as they want. They have people on house arrest.
What country is that? What country is it?
I think
Ecuador?
it's time that the deal with accordingly. Because if they say, oh, we can get deal with them, they need to be the key right. Because if they have this going upside down, the country going from bad to worse, look at the country, sending warning to this citizens that they come here. The Canadian, the English, the American. I think it's dangerous, and it's true. I think every time any day. Straight bullet don't tell you which one when they come in, you know. When they find you target and hit you, be dead. So I mean, the only twiddling terms, the government doing nothing, the national security minister doing nothing. They're waiting for she pension in the next 3 months, and then she could stop praying, and that will be it for she. So if I kind of people that they have running here, really just seeking their own interest. Earlier included. They ain't helping nobody here, they don't care about nobody. All of we could fly by the or fall by the wayside by tomorrow or the next day. They don't care.
All right, my friend. Yes, thank you. Yes, yesterday, but I think it's about time to the segment, page 44 of the 2007 manifesto of the UNCA. And Lavantillians, eat your heart out, because you fail to take advantage of the possibility for a transformed life for the better. Utopia, the commencement thereof. Let's take a look at it. That is it says, of course, the title is A Fair Deal for Lavantil. That was in the 2007 manifesto of the UNCA. Understand that? And we, including Juliet Davy, she was instrumental, of course, in making that happen today. She is anti-Lavantil. She is anti, of course, what I should say, like she's pro-poverty creation, not anti again, pro-poverty. And let me just read a part of it for you. It says as follows: a fair deal for Lavantil. We will repair or construct modern community facilities. It continues, we will establish a maintenance program to maintain all community facilities, all places of worship and recreational facilities. We play a lot of football and cricket, and we have, of course, some good athletes. We will, of course, introduce a system of providing food for the needy, because you have to sustain. Empty bag can't stand up. So what you do, you, of course, while the grass is growing and the more long-term sustainable programs are developing, then, of course, you put interim measures to make certain that the people can cope, whilst, of course, they are waiting for the long-term measures. That is the concept. So it says we will introduce a system of providing food for the needy, which will, of course, encompass both the hamper and the smart card system. Because I told them that, I say the hamper is more crucial than the food card. So what they did, they decided they will put both hamper and food card. Why the hamper? Because when you go to the community center and the people assemble there, they have a chance to talk the problems that they would have, and the people may have information about employment, for example, because the son or daughter just got a work by some or in some establishment, and they can now say, make that person be alerted, because that person's children or child may not have a job, and therefore they could get a job. But more importantly, the community camaraderie and the interaction is crucial, and therefore they could impact it will and has impact on crime and criminality if those kinds of people-centered initiative would have been taken in Lavantil. Instead, the PNM introduced the food card and fragmented the community more. They ain't talking to each other. You have home invasions inside of there, and you have, of course, whole streets versus whole street development that the police cannot have a hand on simply because they don't live there. They can't stay there 24/7. Let's continue with, of course, some of the initiatives that was taken back in 2007, nestled inside of the manifesto of the UNCA. We will upgrade and maintain the physical infrastructure, roads, drains, pavements, and it is needed, because all these pavements and so on in that area, in Lavantil and environs, are decrepit, are brittle. Utility poles, and of course, intervene to prevent land slippage. Yes, we will introduce into the education curriculum. Imagine that, we're gone all day. Introduce into the education curriculum the teaching of civics, basic economics and entrepreneurship. Why? Because we need to get more businessmen coming out of Laventille. That's why. And if you have more of them living there, it means therefore they will create, not to see as a valid alternative the use of and the harboring of guns and ammunition, and of course selling of weed and cocaine, as well as, of course, more importantly, we have a productive contributing community when, of course, you develop entrepreneurs to, of course, stay in Laventille, not get out of it. Too many of the established individuals who would have taken their education or engaged in business, they then leave Laventille and go elsewhere. That is what we are talking about. The serious business we are talking about here. We will establish. Let me just make sure that we understand what we are talking about. We will establish an apprenticeship system with a dedicated trade school. Yes, that is why MLIO came into being. We looked at, of course, the old Rumban to develop, of course, the Laventille Technology and Continuing Education Center. That is not... Heinz can't think that far. His dread is too thin, too light in order for him to think that far. Don't take on these fellas and them. They are total and absolute bereft of any creative measure that will assist the area. And you would have been the beneficiary, the whole of the country. Let's get in trade school, right? Partial funding for this system will be derived from services provided to the government and the private sector. That is what we were talking about. Tutors will be drawn from retired artisan and, of course, technicians. Skilled artisans and technicians. That is what MLIO was, a living forerunner to that. If we had only got into government, if you had only voted Laventille, that is what we were looking at. Government and, of course, community responding to community by the people, of the people, and for the people and of the community of Laventille. That is why we went on the cliche that, of course, Laventille for Laventillians. Remember that? And that was, of course, a place all over Laventille. It continues. An employment bureau. Yes, we told them that that is important. With, of course, a skill bank for members of the community will be established. We give them data to put in the UNC Alliance manifesto of the elections of right and forward thinking, because the community knows the problem, and once they're prepared to solve the problem, we should be given an opportunity. Professor, good night. Welcome. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Good night.
Good night to you.
I'm trying to find the front phone. Yeah, the place I was telling you about was the gang in Electoral.
Yes.
Yes, Electoral was about the gangs running around front. And you know, like I said, the government says have they don't know the downfall of the raising of the gas fee, right?
Yes.
On the public. But let them factor in the property tax and the electricity rate too. So when they factor in all of that, then they're going to know the true extent of what the diabolical schemes causing the man on the street to face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they can't factor in the gas fee alone. They can't factor in property tax and electricity rate now. Right?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's continue, of course, with the the proposal that was put in the manifesto, first time ever history. This is how we gave the country its national culture, steel band, calypso, and of course carnival. Well, Laventille was going to make, of course, a major, profound impact on the national psyche. But of course, the PNM would, of course, try with their nefarious and platitudinous as well as their deceptive agenda to tell you that you must be loyal to your skin complexion and your texture of hair. Whilst of course they abuse and they generate and countenance and tolerate and encourage, of course, crime and criminality galore by their policies and programs and the pauperization of the community by promoting, of course, URP and CPEP, and then of course generating conflict within for these very projects that have created, of course, all kinds of national issues, so much so that international advisories have come against Trinidad and Tobago from the very places that we depend on in order to get some kind of what I consider to be investment. Let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night.
Welcome. Yes.
Good night, Lennox. Can you hear me?
Talk a little louder and into the phone.
Really choppy.
Right, good, great.
You know, I think.
Hello?
Okay, I'll just go in and make my contribution. All right?
Yes.
Yeah, should I make my contribution?
Yeah, much better now. Go ahead. Hello?
Okay. A lot of what you're talking about, Lennox, and no, man, not working.
Oh boy. I see as though we have a little technical problem there. With respect to that call, but let's go back. Of course, let's go down. I'm determined, of course, to finish it tonight. If Africans and that we must stay loyal to them. Whilst, of course, they go away with the ham, lamb, and jam, engaging, of course, in pseudo-racist agenda that exploits the people and then leave them in fallow. Let's go straight, of course, once again. Another area, as I said, the Unemployment Bureau will be established. That goes without saying. The UNC Alliance is committed to a program of regularization of land tenure in Laventille. I mean, that goes without saying as well. We will develop a program of assistance for the development of entrepreneurs. Again, business. That is what we were talking. We will, of course, reintroduce the industrial cottage program. Man, that is both training as well as learning, as well as, of course, developing the entrepreneur class that will then strewn and populate and be all over Laventille, and therefore transform that place to what is considered to be abject poverty to one that is progressive, developmental, and of course towards, of course, middle class status because of our proximity to Port of Spain. Why can't we not, of course, benefit from the presence in close proximity? Juxtaposing us is the seat of power and the main administrative center of the country, the city, Port of Spain. And how come the people on the outskirts cannot benefit and become millionaires and, of course, have the best that the country can offer by their own dint of hard work, etc. But we have the wrong people in government. That is what has happened. A system of community conflict resolution, that goes without saying. Of course, we have to secure the people and their attitude and their commitment, and therefore that is crucial. A system of conflict resolution. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Okay, good night, Lennox. Can you hear me now?
Yes, great,
Yes.
great.
Good night, Lennox. We just have. Okay, Lennox. We just have a really bad connection.
Is that right?
I'll just make my contribution, okay?
Yes.
You see, a lot of what you're talking about, a lot of what about, right? It has to do with constitutional reform. About whenever you talk about jobs and crime, or you're talking about anything that has to do with systems within the government, that has to do with constitutional reform. All I have to do is dedicate one show and just educate people about what is constitutional reform and what does it mean, so that people understand, when you have a move that constitutional reform will modernize the system in a way that the power shifts to the people. So, like, for example, let me look at the judiciary. Instead of having swift adjudication of cases where you have juries and you have full participation of the public, what the government did, the judiciary did, was they say, oh, we don't need jury trials now. We don't need your participation. A judge is just going to decide it because of the backlog. And that is not good, because now you've taken away the power of the people to decide cases. And we don't get in jury trials a good cross-section of the population. We get a very segmented few people. And so a lot of our people are left out of the jury pool. And I think that is very important in that if you don't have full participation of people, how can you get power back to the people? I don't know if you can hear all my contributions.
Yes,
but
I'm
I
here.
also wanted to say that part of the constitutional reform is transparency. And I'll give an example, the Galleon Passage. I remember back in 2016, 17, when they were talking about the Galleon Passage and they were buying all these boats. That Galleon Passage was purchased when a Venezuelan operator couldn't pay for it. And so the government decided to get it. And nobody questioned us. It cost $800 million just to bring that ship down here, that boat. And it is a big boat. But nothing really much was going on with that, right? But Embers a few years ago did allude to the fact that they were going to have a ferry service. But he didn't talk about it. It was more like for tourism. But now Guyana said that, the President of Guyana said that it is for food security, and all of a sudden now the Prime Minister is speaking up. When yesterday nobody knew what was going on. Nobody said anything, and all of a sudden today now they're talking about all these things. That is not democracy. We don't have transparency here, and that's scary. And they're taking away your rights, they're chipping it away, and we're allowing them. So I think UNC needs to start now educating the people about constitutional reform and tell us what is constitutional reform and how will it benefit the people. Instead of us saying the PNM is so bad, they're horrible, the Prime Minister, the racist, let us talk about empowering the people, about how we could fight the system and change it and create change in the future. That is what I'm looking for now, really. We need constitutional reform, and we don't need to keep running to the Privy Council. That is wrong. Caribbean Court of Justice. We should be building our own system here instead of running back to the former colonial. We don't need to go back there to England. All right, that was my comment, and I hope you heard me, because it's such a choppy conversation right now.
Yes. And I could assure you that, of course, I've already sounded the salvo that I will be, of course, taking up the mantle left by reform. I will be, of course, a very vociferous. But I want to tell you that in spite, until that time comes, principles and the focus is on the people, to serve the people. It must be highlighted. And what I'm doing tonight is actually saying that the UNC had the audaciousness and took, of course, the stepping out of the box position that any society that has a appreciation for democracy will want to accept. But more importantly, a area of the society that has been downtrodden, maligned, abused, exploited by a political organization that is still there, that never gave a consideration to even putting them in a manifesto. I think that's a tremendous achievement. Just as how the Baptist community were able to get their land and their schools. And that's achievement. And in the circumstance, I'm saying, whilst of course we advocate for constitutional reform, which of course will equalize, institutionalize equity, clearly, in the meantime, we have to work with what we have. And that is the point I'm making. And I'm telling the people of Laventille that people are prepared and we have done the work already and we are prepared to continue to do so and can do it. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Hello, good night, Lennox. Hello, good night.
Good night to you.
Are you hearing me, Lennox?
Loud and clear. Give me the thumbs up. Loud and clear.
Okay. Yes. To make a long story short, Pool and CMC have in Central and South Trinidad. Why these activists in the UNC don't organize, right? You know, we organize, all UNC supporters, and have large protests, you see? Because they are the ones go to the UNC. We can't study Laventille and we can't trust these people, you know. They don't know what they want and they will never know.
No, I'm
just
saying
the same thing with Tobago.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. They just don't want the PNM and the THA. You see? And when election time comes, they will have the PNM running the country. Right? So, I didn't trust the East-West corridor either. We can't just wait for election and think that ain't working. You can't trust. And we have, what we're supposed to be doing is seeking for us to have foreign observers in the elections. We have to have that, you know, going through right now. We need for the UNC, it is they who have to push, right, for foreign observers. We can't just say it and, you know, we have to call out to them to seek getting foreign observers in this 25 general elections. Now, another thing about this property tax. I don't know how we're going, you know, Lennox, because I stand my ground. I'm not going anywhere to pay any property tax.
I too.
Right? People should understand that the government can't do us anything if we stand our ground. I know that, sure. They can just take away people's property so. Anybody believe in that, they're naive and I say what? Okay? We ain't gonna reach nowhere. We have to stand up to this government. You see how Karen Nunes Teixeira, when she ain't get no invitation, she climb over a little thing there? I hear them talking about a fence. I say some kind of fence, 9 feet tall and all this kind of thing because I don't know that area. They just say you could have just walk over this big set of exaggeration. So it's things like that the country has to do. You have to take action. Parliament building. Stand up there 3 times a week and you just have the place hot. We can't be talking so and you know just wishing for these people to step down. It's not going to happen. They have to stay in power. Right? It's a serious mafia and they have to protect themselves and it's not who's telling them what to do to protect themselves. Rowley is so smart, you know. It's who telling them what to do and all they don't want to accept that. Or they're not accepting what it is I telling all you who it is, empowering them and showing all what to do because he was promised by that person, I will protect all of you ministers. Right? So they know that they say anything, anybody try on them, right? They know they will be protected. So we could go along talking and hoping that, you know, when the elections fall due to the last election, the amount of voters the UNC have, something might work out in the East-West corridor and in Tobago with these people. I say no. We can't trust that. We have a good night.
Same to you, my dear. Same to you, my dear. And notice taken, and I could assure you that action is being taken. Consideration has been given to all of the critical areas that you mentioned, whether the EBC, whether it be, of course, and I'm talking here with respect to international intervention. And of course, I know that the UNC, for example, is prepared to take the EBC to court right now with respect, of course, to the cleaning up of that electoral list. In terms of international observers, while it is the prerogative of the government, but we can make case to the United Nations as well as the International Criminal Court on several other matters that in due course will materialize. I want to tell you already, whilst you may not be hearing, but I could mention it since you have your doubts as to the commitment and the firmness with which and the seriousness with which responsibilities must be executed. I want to tell you that Rowley has not yet responded to me with my pre-action protocol letter, and I read it out to you all, including, of course, mentioned that he is calling me a liar for calling him a rapist and a pedophile, and therefore taunting him to, of course, prove that I lie. Silent. All of that will pile up, will of course be accumulated in the fullness of time. And the people at the end of the day must vote. But the Lord say he will not come until everybody hear of the salvation and the potential and the Savior. In this case, they are their own saviors. And if they want to continue to listen to those who are prepared, of course, to keep them in bondage, that's their business. So that they know. Let me just complete the second column, and then we will tackle the next two tomorrow. For the members of the community will be established. Yes, the UNC Alliance is committed to a program of regularization of land tenure in Laventille. And of course, the final one in the second row only. We will develop a program of assistance for the development of entrepreneurs. I think that is marvelous, of course, and it will continue with, of course, we will establish a system of community conflict resolution. We use state lands on the foothills of the northern range for reforestation and agriculture, and use new and innovative technology to preserve the environment, create employment within the community, and reduce the cost of food. Yes, all of those. It's possible there are some lands that are in the mountainous side, particularly in the Movant area, just on the crescent or on the hillsides, where agriculture traditionally would have been, of course, executed. Yeah, all of that is there. We know. We will, of course, assist and encourage members of the Sealots community to become involved in the fishing industry. Yes, we did that under the UNCA in 2007 in the manifesto. We will re-establish the UNC school textbooks assistance program. We will, of course, de-shift all schools. Well, that has happened throughout the country. And within, of course, the first 2 years of governance, every school in Laventille will be de-shifted. We will, of course, introduce an intervention program to end gang wars involving, among other things, a peace initiative to in high-risk communities. What could happen? And we transform that place with an attitudinal change that says, I can do it because I am human and I feel that I could be part and parcel of the productive and part of the solution to the country. That is what that was all about. We will introduce of illegal guns, special training centers dedicated to computer training. I introduced the first computer literacy program for communities right in Movade, right in Laventille. Data entry and of course computer repair. Remedial mathematics and English will be set up. Yes, indeed. Not just with, of course, Alta, but the community itself will, with the capacity that some people have and the skills that they have, they can of course share with the rest of the community in a avalanche of community camaraderie and management and development. We will establish a program dedicated to reintegrating ex-prisoners into society. We know that we have ex-prisoners, we know of prisoners, and we have to treat with them, otherwise they could, of course, become part of the recidivist group that go in and out of prison on a regular basis. Community policing and, of course, a regional cooperation constabulary will be re-established. That is what we are talking about, man. That is what we are talking about. And for the first time, Laventille and Union Street, that is, of course, is painful. It is harmful. It is dangerous. Unacceptable. In contemporary Trinidad and Tobago? No. That is what you missed in 2007. Don't tell me that you are going to in 2025. We have a duty and responsibility to ourselves and our children. Rowley, and they are not the solution. They are the pain, the ache, the agony, the strain and the stress that have, of course, descended on Trinidad and Tobago by this vagrant set of individuals. I say vagrant because they are a bunch of hustlers. They are a bunch of hustlers. That is what they are. That is what Rowley has established. A bunch of hustlers. And PNM must go. They are not in any way beneficial. People, of course, it is now 6 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, as we continue, of course, to deal with these. And as well that we know what is possible. And therefore, what is possible, it means, therefore, it can be reignited and, of course, implemented because it was never given a chance. And you didn't give yourself a chance. You have a chance now to, of course, remedy the situation, because it's the devil take the high and low road along the East-West corridor and across the country, as we are seeing unfolding by a government, or in the presence of a government that is in no man's land, don't know what to do, cannot do it, and will not step out of the role simply because they are fearful that inevitable will be crime and criminality, blue lights and silver bracelets. That is what we are talking about. A whole government must be held accountable for the travesty that they have perpetrated on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. People, of course, continue to look at these and other issues ourselves, the solutions that are critical for salvation and for making certain that we do what is required in order to get rid of this and multiple albatrosses that they would have established.
Lord, light of my people.
So yes, people, of course, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye-bye.
Good for nothing, too much a good thing, never enough. I don't know why my black people cannot team never care about we. Every election we so devoted, how we love up the PNM. As soon as election come and go, is only problem after problem. How could we cope? Man lost their work, I ain't seeing no solution. Every time PNM come in power,
It takes a toll on black man. I don't want to sound like a racist, but this is what I can see. They just take care of the race, cause they damn well know they have we. I want to ring my bell, wake up Eric Williams, tell him the party found him, PNM needed immediate attention. Ring my bell, wake up Mother Cornhawk, tell she to cast a spell on we party, cause it's not what it used to be. I ring my bell, ring my bell, I ring my bell down there. I ring my bell, ring my bell, I ring my bell down there. This thing is becoming out of hand and stop. If you don't sing a PNM song, from Skinner Park you'll be dropped. Calypsonian could have sing what they want. We were the spokesman for the people. Eric Davy, Chambers Duncy, when Kamala drunk how she likes to pee. Calypsonian know that's no way to go. Too much happening in we country. All this killing spree, young woman bodies, but only about PNM you could sing. All them songs playing on the radio, all you singing we Kamala do. But when PNM do I hear in a word from you, I want to ring me bell, wake up Mother Castell. Every Monday she preach on WAC radio and is the biggest critic of Calypso. Ring me bell for Patsy and Joni. I want them two cultural lovers to know not only PNM song is Calypso. I ring my bell, ring my bell, I ring my bell down there. I ring my bell, ring my bell, I ring my bell down there. Crime will never stop in this country once black people belly empty. How could a man work in CPEP, maintain his whole family? All you say the past regime was so bad, so much wrong thing they done to we. Now that PNM take over, white poor people going hungry. When PNM win, all African grin. Now we get back we country. All they doing is complaining and ain't doing nothing for we. The mess already made, don't sit in the shade and ponder on we problem. Get off your ass and do it fast and find a way to solve them. I want to ring my bell, tell him among all past police commissioners, up to now is he I prefer. Ring my bell, wake up the Lord Bryna. Tell him the state of Calypso today is a good thing he passed away.
What is democracy? What is human rights? And to whom is it directed?